in the frosty heart of the Arctic, where icebergs glistened under a pale sun. Blizzy, a round-eyed penguin with a knack for mischief, waddled excitedly across a snowy plain, his big, shiny eyes sparkling with dreams of the great glow, a magical rainbow said to light up the dullest snow. Beside him, Torta the turtle trudged along, his wise old face creased in thought. His sturdy shell, normally a source of pride, felt like a heavy burden in the biting wind, but he wouldn't admit that to Blizzy. No, sir. Not when his little penguin friend was so caught up in the promise of the great glow. Just a bit further, my friend, Blizzy chirped, his breath forming little clouds in the frigid air. We must be close. And oh, what a sight it will be, Torta, a brilliant splash of color across the endless white. Torta grunted noncommittally, his gaze fixed on the ground as he slowly plodded onward. He liked Blizzy, really he did. The penguin's boundless energy and optimism were like sunshine on a cloudy day. But this quest for the great glow had seemed like a good idea only in Blizzy's head, a wild goose chase that had already taken them farther north than Torta had ever ventured before. Suddenly, the landscape shifted, opening up to reveal a deep chasm that stretched as far as their eyes could see. Jagged walls of ice rose up on either side, their tops just visible above the swirling clouds. The wind was colder here, whistling a haunting tune through the narrow opening. It was clear that if they wanted to reach the great glow, they'd have to cross. Well, this is a pickle, Blizzy squawked, tilting his head to look up at the sheer sides of the crevasse. How are we supposed to get across, Torta? Torta circled the edge, his sharp eyes scanning for a way over or under the crevasse. A faint crack echoed down the chasm, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Finally, he stopped, nudging a nearby pile of ice with his shell. There may be enough here to build a bridge, he said cautiously, unsure if the idea was as crazy as it sounded. But then again, they had come this far. Turning to Blizzy, he added, if you can gather the pieces close by, I should think we could manage to shore up an ice crossing. And so it was that Blizzy, with his small size and quick movements, was soon sliding and flapping his way around the edge of the crevasse, gathering up chunks of ice. Torta directed him with gruff but gentle commands, occasionally lending his own strength to push and nudge the slippery blocks into place. As the hours passed, they worked side by side, the rhythmic cracking of the ice punctuated by Blizzy's occasional squeak of nervousness. Slowly, precariously, a bridge began to form, held together by nothing but hope and a lot of ice. Finally, the last block was slid into position. It wasn't much to look at, more of a wobbly ramp at the end of a jumble of ice, but it reached from one side to the other. Blizzy and Torta stared at it for a moment, both too wary to make the first move. Then, taking a deep breath, Torta started across. His movements were slow and careful, but the ice held. Reaching the middle, he paused, glancing back at Blizzy, who was watching with wide eyes. With a final nod, Torta continued on, emerging safely on the other side. Blizzy, he called, his voice echoing in the vastness of the ice fields. It's your turn. Blizzy took a deep breath, trying to calm the flutter in his stomach. He remembered Torta's steady gait, the way he'd placed each step with such care. Slowly, Blizzy began his journey across the shaky ice, his heart pounding with every wobble. Halfway across, he lost his footing and flopped onto the ice, sliding precariously, close to the edge. But, with a final burst of effort, he scrambled back onto the ramp, shaking and out of breath. Adrenaline pumping, he finished the journey, joining Torta on the other side. They stood there, for a moment, panting, their bodies buzzing with the aftermath of their ordeal. As the wind whipped around them, Blizzy couldn't help but break into a shaky laugh. That was, he gasped, that was quite the adventure, wasn't it? Torta, still catching his breath, managed a grunt of agreement. Despite the danger, there was a thrill in conquering the crevasse, a sense of accomplishment that warmed them from the inside out. But their triumph was short-lived. For as they turned to continue their journey, a large shape emerged from the swirling snow. At first, Blizzy thought it was another iceberg, but as it drew closer, he saw that it was something or someone entirely different. It was a polar bear, large and powerful, its fur blending seamlessly with the white landscape. The bear lumbered closer, its eyes fixed on the two travelers. Then it let out a low growl, sending shivers down their spines. "Oh, dear," Blizzy squeaked, his voice barely a whisper. "What are we going to do, Torta?" "We're going to become a penguin popsicle and a turtle smoothie." Torta, however, remained calm. Years of living in the Arctic had taught him that fear was rarely the best response. Instead, he addressed the bear respectfully. "Good day, Great Bear." "We mean you no harm. We are merely on our way to see the great glow." The bear tilted its head, studying them for a moment. Its gaze seemed to pierce through Blizzy's feathery exterior and Torta's stoic shell, seeing their fear, but also their innocence. Then, as if making up its mind, the bear ambled over to a nearby snowdrift, curled up, and promptly fell fast asleep. Blizzy and Torta exchanged a look of relief, and a shaky smile spread across Blizzy's face. "Well, that was certainly a close one," he said, his voice still trembling slightly. "I think I need a rest," Torta replied, his earlier gruffness gone. "Let us wait here a while longer and perhaps watch the Great Bear slumber. Who knows? Perhaps she share her dreams with us." And so they waited, keeping a respectful distance from the sleeping bear until the sky shifted and the clouds parted, revealing a breathtaking sight. Arching over the ice fields was a magnificent rainbow, its colors vivid against the stark, white landscape. Reds, violets, golds, and greens shimmered and danced, reaching from horizon to horizon. The great glow, even more spectacular than Blizzy had imagined. Overjoyed, he bounced on his feet, his eyes sparkling. "Oh, Torta, look, look," he cried, unable to contain his excitement. "It's even more beautiful than you said." Torta, gazing up at the wonder above him, felt a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Despite the hardships they'd faced, the dangers they'd overcome, the journey to reach this moment had been worth every step. As they watched, mesmerized by the colors arching above them, Blizzy suddenly noticed something strange. At the base of the rainbow, half buried in snow, sat a weathered treasure chest, its surface worn smooth by countless winters. Curiosity sparked in Blizzy's eyes, and he turned to Torta, his gaze shining with excitement. "Look, Torta," he whispered, "there's a treasure chest." Without hesitation, Blizzy dashed forward, his short legs carrying him as fast as they could across the snowy ground. Torta, though slower, plodded along steadily, his eyes fixed on the chest. Reaching it, Blizzy skidded to a stop, nearly nose-diving into the snow. The chest was old, its wood bleached and cracked, but something about it seemed to hum with magic, as if the rainbow itself had woven its essence into the very fibers of the chest. Blizzy, unable to contain himself, pawed at the lid, his heart pounding with anticipation. Torta, ever the pragmatist, placed a restraining fin on his friend's shoulder. "Patience, Blizzy," he said gently. "We don't know what might be inside. It could be dangerous." But Blizzy, his eyes shining with excitement, was already pawing at the locks, eager to see what secrets the chest held. And as the old lid creaked open, revealing a dazzling pile of gold coins and jewels sparkling in the rainbow's light, Blizzy knew that their adventure had led them to a treasure far greater than they could have ever imagined. Blizzy bounced with glee, already dreaming of all the fish he could buy with his newfound wealth. A heated shell for Torta, a cozy nest for his entire family. But Torta, looking from the treasure chest to the fading rainbow, felt a pang of something he couldn't quite name. He knew that the real treasure wasn't gold or jewels, but something far more precious, something that shone brightly in his heart. Sitting side by side as the sky cleared and the sun peeked through the clouds, Blizzy leaning against Torta's shell. They watched the final colors of the great glow fade from the sky, as the Arctic returned to its usual quiet beauty. They knew that the silence was richer, the vastness of the landscape more breathtaking, the bond between them deeper because of the shared adventure, the laughter echoing across the frozen plains, mingling with the cries of gulls and the distant rumble of glaciers, carried on the wind as a reminder of their extraordinary day.